A hunter like that deserves to pass on his genes. The crimson sun of Valdris Prime cast long shadows across the crystalline forest as Marcus adjusted his scope for the third time that morning. The alien world's atmosphere made everything shimmer with an otherworldly quality that both fascinated and frustrated him. 3 months into the interspecies hunting championship, and he still hadn't fully adapted to the way light bent through the dense xenon-rich air. The championship had been controversial from the start. When the Galactic Council announced that primitive species could participate in the most prestigious hunting competition in known space, most civilized worlds had scoffed. Humans with their crude projectile weapons and basic tracking methods were seen as little more than entertainment. The real competition would be between the Kralliks with their energy lances and the Vorthak with their plasma nets. Marcus had volunteered not because he expected to win, but because someone had to represent humanity. The military had chosen him for his exceptional tracking record and his ability to remain calm under pressure. What they hadn't mentioned was that he would be the subject of intense scrutiny from alien media outlets, who seemed to view him as either a curiosity or a joke. The target today was a shadow maw, a predator native to Valdris Prime, that had never been successfully hunted by any species. Its adaptive camouflage and ability to phase partially out of normal space made it nearly impossible to track. The creature had killed 17 hunters over the past century, and the bounty on its head had grown to astronomical proportions. Marcus had been tracking the beast for 6 days, following spoor that most aliens couldn't even detect. His human nose might not be as sensitive as some species, but his pattern recognition and ability to think like a predator had served him well. The Shadowmaw was intelligent, but it thought like an animal. Marcus thought like a human. He had positioned himself at a natural choke point where 3 game trails converged near a mineral spring. The location offered multiple escape routes, but also limited the directions from which the creature could approach. His rifle was loaded with specially designed rounds that could disrupt the creature's phasing ability, a modification he had developed himself much to the surprise of the tournament's technical staff. Forest fell silent. Marcus had learned to read the subtle signs that indicated when something large and dangerous was moving through the area. Birds stopped singing, insects ceased their buzzing, and even the wind seemed to hold its breath. His training had taught him to become part of the environment, to blend so completely that he was virtually invisible. A flicker of movement caught his eye. The Shadowmaw was testing the area, moving with a fluid grace that defied its massive size. Marcus remained perfectly still, his breathing controlled and his heartbeat steady. The creature appeared to be alone, but he knew better than to trust appearances. Shadowmaws were known for their cunning, and this one had survived longer than any of its kind. The beast moved closer, its form shifting between solid and translucent as it tested the air for threats. Marcus had studied hours of footage from previous encounters and knew that the creature would become fully solid for approximately 3 seconds before each phase transition. That would be his window. Through his scope, Marcus could see the intricate patterns on the creature's hide that marked it as the legendary Shadowmaw. Its eyes glowed with an intelligence that seemed almost human, and for a moment Marcus felt a pang of regret. This was a magnificent creature, one of the last of its kind, but the hunt was about more than just killing. It was about proving that humanity belonged among the stars. The Shadowmaw paused at the mineral spring, lowering its massive head to drink. Marcus held his breath and waited. The creature began to phase, becoming translucent, as it prepared to move to a new location. Marcus counted the seconds, and at exactly the right moment squeezed the trigger. The shot echoed through the forest, and the Shadowmaw stumbled. The disruption round had worked, preventing the creature from phasing completely. But Marcus knew that one shot wouldn't be enough. The beast was wounded, but far from defeated. What happened next would become legend among the hunting communities of a dozen worlds. Instead of taking another shot from his concealed position, Marcus did something no alien hunter had ever attempted. He stood up and walked toward the wounded creature, his rifle held ready but not immediately threatening. The Shadowmaw turned to face him, its eyes blazing with pain and fury. Marcus could see the intelligence there, the recognition that this small bipedal creature was responsible for its injury. But instead of charging or attempting to flee, the beast held its ground as if accepting the challenge. Marcus began to circle the creature, maintaining eye contact in what he recognized as a fundamental predator behavior. The Shadowmaw matched his movements, turning to keep him in sight. They were engaged in one of the oldest dances known to any species, the final confrontation between hunter and prey. The creature lunged with surprising speed, its massive claws extended to tear Marcus apart. But the human had anticipated the move and rolled to the side, coming up with his rifle ready. The second shot took the Shadowmaw in the shoulder, spinning it around, but still not bringing it down. Marcus knew he was running out of time. The creature was adapting to his tactics, and its wounds were making it more dangerous, not less. But he also knew something that no alien hunter had ever understood. The hunt wasn't just about killing, it was about respect. The Shadowmaw deserved to die as a warrior, not as a victim. He holstered his rifle and drew his backup weapon, a simple combat knife that had been with him through a dozen campaigns. The Shadowmaw seemed to understand the gesture, and its posture changed from predatory to respectful. This would be decided with honor. The final confrontation lasted less than 30 seconds. The Shadowmaw charged with everything it had left, and Marcus met it head-on. The creature's claws raked across his chest, opening deep wounds, but his knife found its mark, piercing the soft tissue beneath the beast's jaw and driving up into its brain. They fell together, predator and prey locked in a final embrace. The Shadowmaw died with dignity, its eyes still blazing with fierce intelligence. Marcus lay bleeding beneath the massive corpse, but alive and victorious. Recovery teams found him 6 hours later, still pinned beneath the beast, but conscious and alert. The alien medics worked frantically to save his life, while news crews broadcast the incredible footage to worlds across the galaxy. A human had done what no other species had managed to accomplish in over a century, but it was the reaction of one particular alien that would change everything. Xh'Vera was a huntress from the Xh'Verian collective, a warrior culture that prized courage and skill above all else. She had been following the championship with professional interest, but Marcus' performance had awakened something deeper. Xh'Verian females were known for their selectivity in choosing mates. They were warriors themselves, and only respected strength and cunning in potential partners. Most alien males were either too civilized or too primitive to meet their standards, but Marcus had shown qualities that resonated with their deepest instincts. As she watched the footage of his final battle with the Shadowmaw, Xh'Vera felt something she had never experienced before. This human, with his crude weapons and primitive tactics, had displayed a level of courage and honor that put most of her own species to shame. He had faced death without flinching and had given his prey the respect it deserved. The phrase that would become famous throughout the galaxy slipped from her lips before she could stop it. A hunter like that deserves to pass on his genes. The comment was picked up by the media and spread across every communication network in known space. Within hours it had become a rallying cry for human achievement and a source of pride for the entire species. Marcus recovered from his injuries to find himself transformed from an unknown soldier into a galactic celebrity. Marriage proposals flooded in from dozens of worlds, but it was Xh'Vera's that caught his attention. She was everything he had never known he wanted in a partner, strong, intelligent, and utterly fearless. Their courtship was conducted under the watchful eyes of the galaxy, and their eventual marriage became a symbol of interspecies cooperation. But for Marcus, it was simpler than that. He had found someone who understood that hunting wasn't about killing, it was about honor. And in a universe full of advanced technology and complex politics, that understanding was the most precious thing of all. The Shadowmaw hunt had proven that humanity belonged among the stars, not because they were the most advanced or the most civilized, but because they possessed something that couldn't be taught or programmed. They had the courage to face the unknown and the wisdom to respect what they found there. Years later, when Marcus and Kira watched their children play in the gardens of their home on Earth, he would remember that moment in the crystal forest when everything changed. The hunt had been about more than just survival. It had been about proving that some things transcended species and technology. Courage, honor, and respect were universal languages that could bridge any gap. The Shadowmaw had given its life for that lesson, and Marcus would spend the rest of his days ensuring that the sacrifice had meaning. In a galaxy where strength was often measured in firepower and intelligence in processing speed, he had shown that sometimes the most primitive approach was also the most profound. The hunt continued, but now it was about building bridges between worlds and proving that the best of humanity could inspire the best in all species. And at the center of it all was a simple truth that had been whispered by an alien huntress in a moment of awe. Some things deserved to be passed on, and the courage to face the unknown was the most important of all.